breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer friendly low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got a great podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Scott Reichel, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to chat with him about the very murky American League that we're seeing right now, some of the yo-yoing and zigzagging that we're seeing with 1 week having a bunch of overs, 1 week having a bunch of unders, so we'll chat about that, take a look at some of the games that we've got for Tuesday in the final segment. I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. Boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Monday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Christopher Sanchez gave up double the amount of runs on Monday that he had in this last 6 starts combined. Still pretty darn good, considering he gave up 2 runs in 7 innings. Phillies get the job done by a count of 5-2. This is a Patrick Corbin that we all know and love. 5 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings. Take a deep by Adolis Garcia, 7th home run season. Then for Mr. Sanchez, gives up a home run to Ernie Clement, 7th home run season. From there, Brad Keller, Yohan Duran, both on the scoreless setting for the Phillies, who are now 36-30 and 17-13 away from home. The Blue Jays bullpen, if you had the under, they came through big for you. Simeon Woods Richardson in long relief, 4 shutout innings. Tommy Nance along with Alex Macko, they both give you a shutout inning, but way too little, way too late there. For the Rays, they get back on track now, 22-9 at home, 3-1. They take down the Boston Red Sox. Connolly early, he was out of this game relatively early, gives up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Yandy Diaz gets his 12th home run on the campaign. From there, bullpen was pretty solid. Taylor Guerrero, 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless. Greg Weisert, in out scoreless. Danny Kalum gives up a run in an inning. And then you had a pair of outs from Alex Gamboa as well. Meanwhile, for Ian Seymour, he was the pseudo starter in this game. 4 innings, he allows a solo home run as Marcelo Meyer gets his 3rd home run on the campaign. From there, Casey Lugamina, Kevin Kelly, they combine for 2 shutout innings. Cam Boozer, Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, they're all able to turn a scoreless inning. For the Seattle Mariners, they get the job done 6-3 over the Baltimore Orioles. As for the O's, they had a tough time getting to Emerson Hancock in this one. He gives up 1 earned run over the course of 5 innings. From there, you did have Cooper Criswell give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and Edward Pizarro gave up a run in his inning as well. But Matt Brash, pair of outside the bullpen, scoreless, and Andres Munoz closes the deal with a scoreless 9th inning. And then for Trey Gibson, 3 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. From there, Anthony Nunez gives up a pair of runs over the course of 2 1/3 innings, taken deep by Josh Naylor, 7th home run season. Albert Suarez, 1 run allowed over the course of 2 innings of his own. Yankees find a way without Aaron Judge, 7-5. They take down the Guardians in 10 innings. As for the Guardians, Gavin Williams lit a blaze in this game, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 5 innings. As Paul Goldschmidt, 8th home run of the campaign. Ryan McMahon, his 7th. Will Warren, not what he's looking for either. 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, 2 of which were earned. He was hurt by catcher's interference out there in the field. Brent Hendrick from there gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Paul Blackburn walks the plank, giving up a solo home run in his 2/3 of an inning as Anel Martinez gets his 10th home run in the campaign. And for the Guardians, they leave 11 men on base. They go 0 of 11 with men in scoring position. That's why they lost this game, as Ryan Yarbrough, Jake Bird, they both give you a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless. Camilo Duvall and out himself scoreless. Tim Hill, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, and then David Benner does not poop the Benner. A scoreless pair of outs in the 9th inning, scoreless 10th inning to be able to get the job done. And for the Guardians, bullpen was pretty solid themselves, as Colin Olderman and Tim Aaron, they both give you a shutout inning. Hunter Gaddis does give up a run in 1/3 of an inning. Kate Smith, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Sean Armstrong, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, give it up in the 10th inning. Cody Bellinger, able to get the job done for the New York Yankees. Also getting the job done, how about the Slam Diego Padres? 6-2, they take down the Cincinnati Reds, as the Reds, they were on to having Andrew Abbott give them a relatively okay start. 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Taken deep by Freddie Fermin. 3rd home run on the campaign and 3rd in the last 7 days. From there, TJ Antona shutout inning, and Zachary McCambley, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work. And Walker Buehler, he continues to be a little bit up and down. 8 hits allowed in 4 2/3 innings, but only gave up 1 run. Bradley Rodriguez from there, a pair of outs out of the bullpen. He gives up a run, but Adrian Morejon, 5 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels, Jason Adam, Mason Miller, they're both able to turn a scoreless inning of their own for the Washington Nationals. They go on the road. They get the job done against the San Francisco Giants. It's by a count of 4-3. As for the Giants, Logan Webb, 1 run allowed over the course of 8 innings. He did his part, and then Keith Wynn let this lead go by the wayside as he gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning of work. Dylan Smith from there, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Richard Dickey Lovelady as the opener. A shutout inning for the Nationals. Miles Michaelis, 4 2/3 innings scoreless before the bullpen made a little bit of a mess of things. Mitchell Parker gives up a run in an inning. Clayton Beater, well, he gets beaten, giving up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings. But Garth Varland shutout 9th inning, so the Nationals back above 500, 34-33. The Astros and the Angels, they went to extra innings, and being able to get the job done in bonus baseball, you were able to see the Astros be able to get this one done, this by a count of 5-4, as for the Astros, they were able to get some good bullpen pitching after things were a bit shaky for Spencer Arrighetti. No, not Mom Spaghetti. 4 walks, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Año de los Santos gives up a solo home run to Zach Neto, 13th home run season, but Brian King, Josh Hader, Brian Abreu, they all lend a scoreless inning. Grayson Rodriguez, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 5 1/3 innings. From there, you had Ryan Zefrian give you a shutout inning, Sam Bachman as well. Sam Natera Jr. just made his MLB debut a few days ago, pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless, and then Kirby Yates in the 9th inning gives up a run that forces extras, and Sam Eldejeri, he gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. As for Jake Myers, he had a fielding error help him out. He popped up to the infield, and they were able to score a run, so yay verily for the Astros, and do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And Athletics versus Brewers currently heading into extra innings with the game tied by a count of 10-10. This has been a wild one. Kyle Harrison absolutely destroyed. He got 7 outs, gave up 8 runs, all of which were earned, including not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs. As Shea Langoliers, Shea bangs his 17th home run of the season. Zach Aloff, his 7th home run of the season. Then Tyler Soderstrom, 9th home run of the season. Soderstrom a little bit later off of Drew Rom, his 10th home run of the season. And Nick Kurtz, he gets his 13th home run of the campaign. That comes off of the newly acquired Joel Kuhnel, who was on the Athletics like 48 hours ago. For Kuhnel, he gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings of work. You had Grant Anderson have to come in long relief, and he was very rock solid. 2 2/3 innings scoreless out of him. For Drew Rom, he does give up that home run in 1 1/3 innings. Aaron Ashby, he was able to supply a scoreless 9th inning that sent things to extras, and Jeffrey Springs, he got lit up as well. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He had a pair of home runs. Bryce Rang, 10th home run season. Andrew Vaughn, his 2nd. Jake Bowers, a little bit later on, off of Luis Medina, his 12th home run season. For Medina, 2 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Justin Sterner from there, out of the bullpen scoreless. Mike Leiter Jr., he gives up a run in an inning. Hogan Harris, he had to complete the 8th and 9th innings, gives up 2 runs along the way. So we'll see what happens in extras. I have to have this up prior to the game wrapping up, as that was a late one. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting in terms of the trends of Major League Baseball right now, boy, has it been overwhelming recently, as the favorites 45-40 on the money line over the last 7 days, hitting at just 52.9%, and just 10 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. So they're starting to cover the run line a little bit more with the Brewers versus Athletics games already over the total. You've had 45 overs, 42 unders, and I believe a push along the way. So right around 51.7% is the over rate over the last 7 days. And if you're looking overall for the season, over rate just there above 51%, 490 overs, 469 unders, and we have had 26 pushes along the way, and favorites on the money line hitting at 55.5%. 531, 425 on the money line, and among those 531 favorites, 126 have failed to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Scott Reichel aboard. He does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast, so we're taking a look at so many different things. He does a great job on the baseball side of things. He's your main man when it comes to tennis. He does a little bit on the soccer front of things. I mean, you name it, he does it. The NBA podcast, the WNBA podcast. He's a hardworking man. We appreciate men like Scott on this podcast. You're able to follow on the old Twitter/X at Reichel Radio. That is Reichel, and then the word radio altogether. And Scott, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Always great to have you aboard. And Scott, before we dive in a little bit on Tuesday and some of these individual games, just what have you made out of the last few weeks in baseball? Because it feels like we'll have one week a whole bunch of overs, the next week a whole bunch of unders, and it just feels like there's been a lot of yo-yoing and sort of like zigzagging with regards to the totals over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. I mean, you are getting into the summer months now, so a lot of people are going to be starting to expect a bit more home runs, especially in some of these hitter-friendly ballparks when it's 90 degrees outside. So you might end up seeing a decent amount of potential, I'd say, explosion games. But as you mentioned, it's kind of been yo-yoing. I've been looking at some teams recently that can't really hit. Coincidentally, a team that plays in a dome, Tampa Bay, so it doesn't really matter what the weather is outside. But you've seen a couple of teams in particular kind of fall apart offensively or figure it out offensively, which kind of happens over the course of an 162 game season. Baseball, a season of streaks. That's how I would describe it.
Yep, I think that that's so well said by you. And that certainly is, shall we say, on display in the American League, where it just doesn't feel like we have, forget about a great team, any sort of really good teams right now. Just how do you look at the American League landscape? Because right now, your top two teams record-wise in the Rays and the Yankees, they have fallen on some tough times recently. And for the Yankees, they're going to be without Aaron Judge for quite a while.
Yeah, that's really the story, because we know how I'd say much the Yankees have struggled over the past couple of years when Judge has been out of the lineup. And even with the win yesterday, they have not been that great without Judge this season. So we'll see if they can figure it out now. But the point is, the Yankees have some problems health-wise. Stan's hurt again, which I'm sure everybody saw coming at some point during the season. Tampa, though, we saw they were overachieving all season based on advanced metrics, etc. And recently they've fallen apart because they can't really score runs. So even the two best teams right now, record-wise, in the American League have fallen on, I'd say, hard times lately. You're looking at the AL West. I'd say most of the teams there, if not all the teams there, are not very good. The AL Central, the Guardians are fine. They're 37-30. Do you like any other teams in that division? Like, not really. The White Sox have been a surprising story at 34-31, but as you said, there aren't many good teams, let alone great teams in the division, in the entire AL right now. And right now, the two best teams record-wise are not playing that well.
Yeah, it's been very murky. And is there perhaps a team or two in the American League that you think can ascend? Because what I keep saying about this American League is that someone has to go out there and win games. Personally, I look at maybe the Rangers and the Blue Jays a little bit myself as teams that have a little bit of upside, but want to get your thoughts here because it's a very murky landscape.
Yeah, the last time I was on your show, I did mention Seattle when they were not in first place. I believe the A's were still in first place at that point in time. And I said Seattle was definitely a dark horse candidate just based on the pitching. And I figured if the offense got going even a little bit, then they could definitely find a way into first place. And right now, fast forward a few weeks, they're in first place, only 2 games over 500. But everyone likes the pitching staff. The offense is very boomer bust. I know Crawford now is on the IL. We'll, of course, have seen them without their arguably best player, Raleigh, who was struggling mightily this season, but of course he still has a lot of power and can be a very big piece to this team. But even with him being injured, they've been good lately. Won a decent winning streak. They have lost 3 of their last 4. They're beating Baltimore right now. We'll see if they can hold on. But my answer is still going to be Seattle. When it comes down to the playoffs, you need a good pitching staff, and Seattle does have that. The offense is still a serious question mark. A lot of boomer bust players in their lineup that strike out or hit bombs. But besides that, with their rotation alone, we saw them lose in Game 7 in painful fashion to Toronto last year. I think they're definitely capable of surprising a team or two along the way. My pick would still be Seattle.
Yep, with the Seattle Mariners, they've also had Logan Gilbert, who's going to be on the bump on Tuesday, pitch really well on the road this far this season, as well as we do have Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and we talk about the struggles in the American League. Let's take a look at 2 teams that are struggling in the National League. That'd be the Reds and the Pirates, and they square off against each other, so one of these teams have to win. Right now for the Reds, slim favorites like -110, -115. It's Lucas Giolito going up against Chase Burns. Want to get your thoughts here because for Lucas Giolito, it actually feels like he's fortunate to have a sub-5 ERA, and this Padres offense has been awful.
Yeah, they've been one of the worst teams in the league over the last couple of weeks. Just for the actual numbers here, looking at the Padres record, they're 2-11 in their last 13 games. On top of that, Burns has been great. He's allowed less than 3 earned runs, or 3 runs in general, in 9 straight. Now, I do find the money line interesting here because the Reds' first 5 money line is like -180. And yet their full game money line is -110. So that kind of tells you how, I'd say, disrespectful the market is towards the Reds bullpen, rightfully so. But for the pricing, I got to go with the Reds here. I think the Reds are just simply put in better form right now. It's tough to be in worse form than San Diego. And Burns, we know, has been great. You mentioned Giolito. Being fortunate is the word I would use as well, because he has not looked good over the course of the season. So I'll go with the Reds money line at -110. I don't need an excuse to fade a team that's lost 11 of their last 13, but Burns on the mound is the cherry on top. I'll go for Cincinnati.
Yep, I'm right there with you. We're in lockstep there. As for Lucas Giolito, 5.9 strikeouts to 7 walks per 9 innings. When you're giving up more walks than you're getting strikeouts, you're going the wrong way, down a one-way street. And then this game is interesting as well because we mentioned it. Rays are struggling a little bit. For the Red Sox, they have been on the struggle bus with their offense all season long, and now it's Peyton Tolle against Nick Martinez. I do think there might be a little bit of regression for Nick Martinez, but I just don't know if it comes against this Red Sox lineup, and Peyton Tolle looks like he's going to be the real deal. Total is right now 7.5, relative pick'em game here. Want to get your thoughts here because I think it all comes down to, can the Rays be able to get into that Red Sox bullpen after Peyton Tolle has himself a nice outing?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the under in this game at 7.5. I think I have to. Both teams really can't hit. The Rays have scored less than 4 runs in 4 of their last 5. They're up 2-1 right now, so it might be 5 of the last 6. We'll see. Red Sox, though, have scored less than 3 runs in 3 of their last 5. Both offenses really not doing anything right now. And as you mentioned, Martinez and Tolle have both been solid. Yes, regression might be in store for Martinez, but he's been a very good ground ball pitcher all season. And I do think with the Red Sox, a limited offensive, I'd say, upside at this point in time, I can see a couple of paths here where one offense no-shows the game or both. But 7.5 does feel pretty high to me when I have no faith in either offense to even reach 4 runs in a given game. So give me a 3-2 type final. Give me the under.
Yep, I don't think I would be willing to take a shot on a 7, but as long as you get the 7.5, I'm right there with you on this as well. And then I think this one is interesting because a lot of places don't have a number up for this game quite yet because we didn't know if Dylan Cease was going to be coming off the injury list or not for this. Looks like he will, going against Zach Wheeler. Phillies, very slim favorites, total of about a 7.5. Want to get your thoughts here because these two pitchers are obviously 2 of the better starters that you're going to find in all of baseball. For Cease, coming off the injury list, but was not necessarily too long of an injured list stint as well.
Yeah, so maybe it's just a personal opinion on Cease. I've found him to be one of the more overrated pitchers in the league for the last couple of years. He does strike out a lot of guys, does give up damage, so I'm not the biggest fan in general of Cease. Plus, he has not pitched in basically 2 weeks. He's not pitched since May 24th. I don't typically like to back pitchers off of an IL stint. So based on that, I like Philly in this one. I'll go first 5, but I'll get greedy with it. Give me Philly first 5 minus half a run at +130. Wheeler's been great since he missed the start of the season. He's allowed less than 3 runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. I know that right now he's being overshadowed by Sanchez because Sanchez has been a monster all season. But Wheeler's been great. We know Toronto in general is not very good, and Cease has not pitched in 2 weeks, and in general, he does give up a decent amount of damage, despite striking out usually 8+ guys per start. I'll go for a little bit of plus money here. Give me Philly first 5 minus half a run at +130. I like Wheeler more than Cease, and I'd argue that Philly's better than Toronto in general, so I like the price.
Yep, and with Zach Wheeler, down a little bit with his strikeout stuff from past years, but he's just a guy that is a very smart pitcher. He knows what he's got. He's able to utilize it, and I think that this could be a good spot for the under with the way that the Blue Jays and the Phillies have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation as well. So that's one that I think is going to be fun. And then this is another under that I really like. It's the Rangers against the Royals with a total of 9.5. I know that they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, but Rangers haven't hit this season. Royals haven't hit this far this season. Stephen Kolek has been okay. Nathan Eovaldi, after his first 2 starts of the season, he's rounded into form. I want to get your thoughts here because 9.5 just seems really high on this one.
Yeah, I'm on the under as well. I think 9.5 is insane. If you're playing this game in Coors Field, then maybe I'd consider it. But in Kansas City, I can't do it. Both teams offensively are terrible. Royals are 29th in runs per game. Rangers are 25th. Kolek's been fine. He has allowed less than 3 earned runs in 3 of his last 4. Eovaldi's been getting roughed up a little bit lately, but overall, I still think Eovaldi is definitely, worst case scenario, a serviceable starter. But both offenses aren't good enough to warrant a total of 9.5 in this stadium. So I'm with you on the under. 9.5 is insane to me. I guess you could argue that the weather is going to benefit the over, and it's of course getting hotter out there in June and July, etc. But these teams can hit. So based on that, I would rather dare them in good hitting weather to find a way to get to 10. You don't have a complete I'd say, useless pitcher on the mound. For example, Kachana, which is now on the IL. I know he's on the Angels, but you know what I'm trying to say. There are a couple of really bad pitchers out there where you can make the argument where they will get shelled. I think both pitchers can hold their own here. So I'm with you on the under. I think 9.5 is too high.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And boy, that was one of the easiest of the year when I took that for Dodgers versus Angels on Saturday. That was a nice, good win when Jack Kachanowicz and company gave up a 9 spot in the first inning.
That cashed in like 20 minutes.
Yep, that was great. You got to the over, and then you could just go on with the rest of your night. So that was amazing. And Scott, anything else that you might be taking a look at? Because I know that sometimes you dive into player props, what have you. I feel like it's been a little bit murkier with player props. Certainly a lot of overs have cashed over the last few weeks with the overs in general cashing. But anything else that might be catching your attention?
Yeah, so looking at some, it's a little bit early for player props for me. I'm just going to kind of wait to see how the lines open up, etc. But I like Milwaukee. I keep backing Milwaukee, and they keep winning. I understand that the A's are at home here, or I understand that the A's are, once again, a team that has been, I'd say, decent so far this season. They're 31-34. They've kind of cooled off lately. I do want to point out, though, as a reminder, that this game will be in a neutral site. It's going to be in Vegas, so keep that in mind. But I think Jin is fine. I think that he's been okay this season, and Gasser has been a bit underwhelming. But Milwaukee, we've seen find ways to manufacture runs. The A's in general have not really been good in their home ballpark. It's not going to be their home ballpark, but they've lost 3 of their last 4. They can't really pitch. I like Milwaukee. They're a team that people discount every year. And you look up and they're in first place and they have 40 wins and 23 losses. So I didn't mind Milwaukee in general. It feels like they're undervalued constantly, and they win more often than not. So shout out to Murph Ball. I'll go for Milwaukee as well.
We love Murph Ball on this podcast, myself being a man from the great state of Wisconsin. And hey, Scott, I know that you spent some time in Wisconsin as well, so absolutely love that. And Scott, I know you're doing such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, whether it's tennis, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, you're covering it all and doing so all so well. So love to give people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yep, so you can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can find me on SGPN, bunch of free podcasts there, MLB, NBA, tennis, WNBA, prop shows, etc. Also find me on Steady Picks. I'm on their YouTube channel. I'm doing a solo NBA show, so check that out until the finals are over. And besides that, all my picks are free. Find me on Twitter once again at Reichel Radio.
Absolutely. And Scott, he's doing such a great job looking at this great sport of baseball on a day in, day out basis. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So a big thanks to Scott for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's doing a great job on so many fronts, whether that be baseball, basketball, football, tennis, you name it, he does it every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Scott for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at June_81. We are going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, any interleague games, those will obviously be in time order as well. Those will be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we get things started? This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Marlins, as it is one Mr. Max Myers on the bump for the Fish, and Zach Allen looks at Philadelphia for Arizona. And Arizona does find themselves as a underdog here of anywhere between plus 105 to a plus 112. Meanwhile, minus 125 to minus 132. That's your number on Miami. And total on this game, it is 7.5. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And I do like the over. I did somebody tell at 8.1. Not because of Max Meyer. Max Meyer has been really good this far this season, and he's been far better at home rather than away from home. You look at Meyer this far this season, and he's been firing up a strikeouts per 9 rate that hovers right in the neighborhood about 9.9 with 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 281 ERA, 305 fielding dependent, but that ERA drops to 179 with 0.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings at home. Zach Allen, though, he is a maestro of home and road splits, 5.32 ERA overall this season with 1.5 home runs per 9 innings allowed. That balloons up to a 7.57 with 2.3 home runs per 9 innings allowed when he's away from home. So He just always gets tattooed when he's away from home. Now, the Diamondbacks, they're about league average with their bullpen ERA. They're right around about 15th, 4.09 ERA. Marlins, a little bit better, 3.60 ERA. That's 9th in the big leagues. And for the Miami Marlins, there's been a little bit of trial and tribulation with having Pete Fairbanks being both banged up and just being a little bit ineffective. That's not been great. Andrew Nardi has seen his ERA go up a little bit, but you're starting to get a little bit more out of Michael Peterson. Great name. They've been able to get good innings out of Lake Bakar is a bit of a long guy. Anthony Bender seems to be coming along as well. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, I actually think that this bullpen is quite solid. I don't trust in Paul Sewald as closer, but Kevin Ginkel, Jonathan Loaizaga, Ryan Thompson, even Juan Murillo, Taylor Clark, these are all guys give you a sub-4 ERA. And for the Diamondbacks, back in the upper half of the big leagues, in terms of run creation, not necessarily having a lot of poppers. Corbin Carroll along Ketel Marte, lone guys with over 8+ home runs this season. Marte Parte, 11 bombs, about a 250 average. Carroll, 375 on base with 10 bombs. Eliomar Vargas has cooled off since the beginning part of the season, but he and Ryan Waldschmidt are both hitting above a 275. In a small sample size, you've been able to get some relatively good production of Gabriel Moreno because he dealt with quite a bit of injury thus far this season, but Nolan Arenado is turning back time a little bit as well. Flip side for the Miami Marlins, this is a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis. Liam Hicks, your main boom man, he's been able to give you 12 home runs, and he gets on base, 345 on base. Outside of him, Xavier Edwards, out of Lopez, they're hitting above a 300. Javier Sanja, he's been able to above a 250 to be able to move line. Need a little bit more from these guys at the bottom, likes of Graham Pauley, Joe Mack, Alberto Hernandez, Owen Casey. Throw in there Kyle Stowers. These guys hitting at 225 or lower. Connor Norby as well. But for the Miami Marlins, they do a nice job in terms of swiping bags. Jacob Marcy, though, he doesn't hit for average, 16 stolen bases. So do think that the Marlins do a nice job getting to Gallen to be able to get the job done. Like the over sub, I tell it at 8.1. Made the Marlins a minus 148, so I'd like them on the money line. 953, 954 on the card. The Dodgers are going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Paul Skeens is on the bump for the Buccos and Eric Lauer goes for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers do find themselves as a very slim underdog here. You're going to be getting them between minus 110 to a minus 104. Meanwhile, for the Buccos, you're going to be finding them pretty much minus 110 to a minus 112, and I set the Pirates at a minus 148. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. You just have such a big pitching mismatch here. That's not even funny. With Paul Skeens, I know that he's been a little bit shaky over his last few starts, but for Skeens, 309 ERA, 261 fielding dependent. He's still getting the 10.5 strikeouts with 1.7 walks per 9 innings. Keeps the ball in the yard, unlike Eric Lauer. 574 ERA. I recognize it. His 2 starts with the Dodgers have been much better than what he was providing with the Blue Jays, where his ERA was above a 6. But still, for the season, 2.5 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings allowed, and this might surprise a lot of people. Pirates actually lead the league in run creation at home. They're averaging 5.6 runs per game at home. They've had O'Neal Cruz along with Brandon Lau get loud, both of these guys, 14 plus home runs. Now, Cruz has been dealing with a little bit of ailment, so he's been having to fight through that, something that you do want to be watching for, but still, even if you have him out, you've got plenty of guys to move lines. Spencer Horwitz, Brian Reynolds above a 385 on base. Nick Gonzalez is hitting above a 300. Ryan O'Hearn, 360 on base. Connor Griffin has been with about a 270. Not a lot of pop, but I mean, these guys are getting on base. Even Jake Magnum has been solid there. Now for the Pirates, had a little bit of a disadvantage in the bullpen there in the bottom half. In terms of bullpen ERA, Justin Lawrence is just no longer with the team in general. Evan Sisk, Gregory Soto, they've been your main man. They've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. They have now put Carmen Molzinski in the bullpen, though. He was a pretty solid starter. That should be able to help them out. Like so, Mason Montgomery, Brandon Bedoy, they've been posting up an ERA between about a 375 to a 456. Need some work there. And for the Dodgers, they have been a top 10 team in terms of opening ERA. The Hurt, Kyle Hurt, along with Will Klein, Blake Trinan. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Trinan did give up a few runs over the weekend, but still, overall, these guys have been able to do a relatively solid job. Jack Dreyer's off the injury list. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA to fortify things as well. Tanner Scott had a little bit of a rough week 2 weeks ago, but he's back online. And for the Dodgers, this continues to be a top 5 team in terms of run creation. Max Muncy, Andy Paz, 14 home runs apiece. They're both giving you above a 330 on base. Freddie Freeman has been able to give you about a 360 on base. He's up to 10 bombs for Shohei Ohtani, 11 bombs, 400 plus on base. Bottom of the lineup with Mookie Betts. It's been a little bit rough for him thus far this season. Sometimes Miguel Vargas can be a little bit hit or miss, but obviously a team that moves the line. But I think the Paul Skeens goes out there, dominates. I do think that Lauer is in a little bit of better form as well. So I said I told you you're for 7.7. I like the 8 to the under. I like the Pirates here on the money line. Set them at a minus 148. 955, 956 on the card. It is the Mets. And they're going to be playing us the St. Louis Cardinals. Dustin May hopes that it's May Day for the Mets, and Mr. Freddie Peralta's on the bump for the Metropolitans. The Mets are between minus 126 and minus 134 favorites, plus 104 to plus 114. That number on St. Louis, 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Under is minus 115, over is minus 105 on the 7.5, over is minus 120, under is even, and I'm willing to take a shot here on the Mets. I set them at a minus 167. I just believe that the Mets have the better pitching in this game. Now for Freddie Peralta, a little bit but down. 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings is actually a career low for him. You wouldn't think that. But still, he's been able to post up a nice 3.63 ERA, 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, so doing a formidable job there. And then Dustin May, 4.59 ERA, but he's pitched better than this. 2.6 walks, 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate is back right around about at 8, so 3.36 fielding dependent. That said, the Cardinals, they're at a disadvantage in the bullpen. Ryan Stanek has been better, but he's still posting up an ERA above a 4. I like what I've been seeing out of Giorgio Romero, sub 3.50 ERA out of him. Gordon Gaseffo, these guys have been solid, but for the Mets, you've got the likes of Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley give you a sub 3.50 ERA. Luke Weaver has been much better here over the last few weeks. Devin Williams still lost cause, but past that, pretty solid. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they have really went down the toilet bowl with their offense recently. 26th in terms of run creation since May 1st, with a little bit over 3.8 runs per game. Now, for the Cardinals, they also do have pretty demonstrative home and road splits. The Cardinals in road games as far as the season, a top 10 offense, averaging about 4.75 runs per game, more like 4.14 runs per game at home. And Jordan Walker has supplied some nice power, 300 average, 16 home runs as far as the season. Nobody else with a double-figure amount of homers, so I have plenty of guys that are moving the line. J.J. Weatherholt, Tavon Herrera, Alec Burleson. I'll give you at least a 3.55 on base. For Weatherholt has been in and out of the lineup the last few days, but should be good to go here. But these guys at the bottom, like Victor Scott, Pedro Baez, Thomas Segizzi, these are guys hanging 215 or lower for the Mets. And he does continue to be a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation. Juan Soto's been great. Juan Soto, 366 on base with 13 home runs. Maybe you expect a little bit more for the money, but I mean, he's done his part. And then got the likes of Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, below a 290 on base. A combined 13 home runs between those two guys. Carson Benja had a 5-hit game on Sunday, so it looks like he might be coming around. And I'll give you about a 325 on base. That's good, but Mark Vientos, 248 on base. Tyrone Taylor, as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop. Entire catcher spot has been awful for this team. Still dealing with the Francisco Lindor and Luis Robert injury, so I think that you get a low scoring game, but I do think that the Mets have the better pitching here to get the job done. Like the under sub, I told 7.4 for the Mets, set them at a minus 167. I like them on the money line. 957, 958 on the card. The Cubs are going to be on the road against the Rockies as Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for the Rockies, and Colin Ray says hit Pepper Ray to another start. Dolan's game is 12.5 over and under both of minus 110, minus 150 to minus 156. That number on the Cubbies, and for the Rockies, plus 130 to plus 132 is your number there. And for the Cubs, I set their money line price at a minus 156 if you're willing to lay run half with them. That's between even a minus 108. Personally, I'm going to take the chalkier money line here just because with the Cubs, they just seem to be really bad at situational hitting. Like Alex Bregman leads the league right now and men stranded on base. It's been absolutely wild what we've been able to see there. I do think that the Cubs are going to round into a little bit of better form, and you'll look at Colin Ray in this start. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been awful. He's posting up a 4.59 ERA, fielding dependent right in line with that. 1.3 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, and even though Colorado is the ballpark that elevates offense the most, the Rockies are averaging about 4.7 runs per game at home. They've only got one guy on the roster that is healthy because Mickey Moniak is on the injury list with a double-figure amount of homers. Hunter Goodman, and he has been a good man. He's been able to give you 17 home runs, so that's what's on at the top of the lineup. Torrey Johnson is giving you about a 370 on base. TJ Bromfield, 345 on base. Jake McCarthy moves the line, hitting at 280, but then you get into these guys at the bottom, like Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, throw in there Edouard Julien. These guys hitting at 225 or lower. Sherlin Thompson, who they've been giving some at-bats to. It's a Rockies bullpen that's starting to really fall apart at the seams as well. Antonio Senzatella has been your best reliever this far this season after being an absolute failure of a starter for many, many years. He's went into the bullpen. He did blow that game against the Brewers over the weekend, but sub-2 ERA out of him. Seth Albertson has been solid as well, but then you've got a lot of other guys that are starting to toilet bowl. TJ Shook, Brendan Bernardino, Jay Nill. These are all guys now supplying an ERA above a 450, and Jimmy Urga continues to be on the injured list along with Victor Vodnik. Flip side for the Chicago Cubs, they haven't a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Like, the bullpen has actually been quite good for the Chicago Cubs. Caleb Theobar, he's got an ERA that is hovering a little bit below a 4 right now, but Daniel Palencia, he has been absolutely lights out for the team as he's been able to supply a nice sub-250 ERA. Jacob Webb has been solid. They're still dealing with the injury injury to Riley Martin, but even Ethan Roberts has been able to come in there, hold down the fort for the Cubs. They just need someone to be able to take over. Pico Armstrong has had a few good games recently. He's up to a double-figure amount of homers and a 341 on base, and it just feels like with this Cubs lineup, everyone aside from Dansby Swanson gives you like a 310 to a 350-ish on base. Michael Busch more like a 370 on base, but you've got a lot of similarity here. Nico Horner, along with Alex Bregman, who I mentioned before, Seiya Suzuki, they're all sort of in that neighborhood. Michael Conforto's back there as well now with the 355 on base. So I do think that the Cubs offense might be a little bit limited. Tomoyuki Sugano, about a 398 ERA. He only gets about 5.1 strikeouts per 9 innings and does give up 1.7 home runs per 9, but limits damage with giving up less than 2.7 walks per 9 innings. So I do think that you get a lower scoring game. Like the under sum, I told 11.1. With the Cubs, I just don't trust the run line with them. One, to take the chalkier money line, set them at a minus 156, 959, 960 on the card. Got the Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're under the road to face off against the San Diego Padres as Lucas Giolito is on the bump for the Pods, and Jace Burns goes for the Reds. The Reds are a very slim favorite here, between minus 110 to a minus 118. Even money to minus 110 is that number on Slam Diego. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to minus 120. Over is between even and minus 110, and made the Reds a minus 130. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line for Lucas Giolito. He's pitching to a lot of contact, and that goes all the way back to what he did last season as well. For Giolito, he was very lucky that he posted up the ERA that he did last season with the Red Sox, as he was flying a 341 ERA with a 4.17 fielding dependent, only getting 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to 5.9 strikeouts, 7 walks per 9 innings, 486 ERA, 665 fielding independent in his 4 starts this far this season, and he's backed up by a San Diego Padres team that's dead sinking last in terms of run creation right now. Manny Machado might have a double-figure amount of homers, but entered in the day on Monday, hitting a $169, and just don't have anyone that's really moving the line other than Fernando Tatis Jr. He's only got the 1 home run, but he's hitting for like a 340-ish on base, so he's actually been able to move the line a little bit. Ty France as well, he's hitting about a 270 with regards to his average, so that's been nice. Kevin Cheats is up to 10 home runs, but he's hitting at 230. They've been mixing and matching with some of these young guys in the outfield, like Bowen got a start yesterday, Samad Taylor. They're looking for just anything whatsoever out there. The catcher spot has been horrible as well, and for the Reds, they've been dealing with the injury to Ellie De La Cruz, so that's hurt the offense a little bit. Because in Sal Stewart, 12 home runs, he's giving you about a 340 on base. JJ Bleday has been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, above a 350 on base. Blake Dunn has been able to get her done. He's been able to hit about a 300 as well now. Bottom of the full with these guys like a Neovalli Marte, Arroyo at the second base spot, the entire catcher spot headlined by Tyler Stevenson, Matt McClain. These are guys hitting at 220 or lower, so you need a little bit more there. And for the Reds, this is a horrible bullpen. They're a bottom 3 team right now in terms of bullpen ERA. TJ Antone, he's got an ERA above a 375. Caleb Ferguson coming off the injury list should help, and then Sam Mulbrock and Rolberg sub 425 ERAs, but Zachary Maxwell quite literally had a 1620 ERA going into yesterday, but I just think that Chase Burns is going to be able to go out there and dominate. This man has been incredible all season long. 205 ERA, 10.5 strikeouts, and 2.7 walks per 9 innings. Does give up the deep ball a little bit, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but on this Padres team is going to be able with the deep ball. So I did set a total here of a 7.4. I do like the Reds on the money line, and I do like this total to the under. 961, 962 on the card. The Washington Nationals are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Adrian O'Connell, Doogie Howser is on the bump for the Giants, and Andrew Alvarez is on the bump for Washington. Washington is between even money to minus 104, minus 112 to minus 120. That number on San Francisco. 8.5 the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. I set the Giants here at a minus 104. So if we can get plus money on the Washington Nationals, which when the dime lines come out, we should be able to get like a plus 105 on the Washington Nationals. I'm going to be willing to take a shot there on the money line. I was pretty much willing to take whoever is going to become the underdog, and it's looking like that's going to become the Washington Nationals. That's just really tough to trust in Adrian Hauser right now. 549 ERA, 526 fielding dependent, getting 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.5 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, and has to take on one of the most mighty lineups in all of baseball for the Nationals entering this series. Number 1 in all of baseball with over 5.3 runs per game. CJ Abrams up to 14 bombs, over a 375 on base. James Wood giving you good wood, 17 bombs. He's been able to give you a 400 plus on base, and these other guys are coming along for the ride. Dallin Lyle, Luis Garcia, both hitting about a 255. You've had Curtis Mead now give you 9 home runs, over a 340 on base. Jober Vivas has been having a little bit of issue, and Keibert Ruiz doesn't draw walks, but he hits about a 275. We'll see what Dylan Cruz has been able to do, because he just hasn't been great in his few years at the big league level, but has a lot of hype around him. And for the Giants, they scored like 50 runs in their week last week, so they're starting to get online. William Adames has a double-figure amount of homers, still less than a 300 on base, but it's looking better. Rafael Devers, 8 home runs. It looks like that's just never going to pan out, but Casey Schmidt is 15 home runs. He's hitting at 280, and got guys moving line. Jung-Ho Lee, Luis Ariz are both hitting above at 315. Bryce Eldridge has been able to hit about a 280. Even Eric Haas, the catcher spot, has been pretty solid with Daniel Suchet and company. Not a ton of power, but they're moving line for the Giants. They're a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. I've had JT Brubaker give you a sub 350 ERA. Sam Antiges has been a nice find with a sub 250 ERA. Tristan Beck just absolutely terrible for this team. Caleb Killian starting to hit the toilet bowl as well, but overall these guys have been solid, but they have to go through the back cage injury now as well. And for the Washington Nationals, obviously not a bullpen that's been too trustworthy thus far this season. Richard Dickey Lovely, the opener from yesterday, he's actually been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Clayton Beater along with Orlando Robalta, sub 350 ERAs out of them. Gus Farland though above a 4 ERA. Zeno Perez had to be DFA'd because he was so bad. Mitchell Parker is just an awful long guy as well, but I do think that for Andrew Alvarez, even though you might not get a ton of length, I think that there's a little bit of upside with him. I don't know if he's going to be amazing for the team moving forward or anything like that, but for Alvarez, right now he enters with a 3.54 ERA, fielding dependent more around about a 3.11, 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings in a small sample size of 20 and a third innings, but throughout his baseball career, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings at the big league level, so any sort of plus money, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Nationals and think that you get a higher scoring game. Somebody told it at 8.7, do like the over, 963, 964 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Orioles. Trevor Rogers is in the neighborhood for Baltimore, and you've got Logan Gilbert on the bum for Seattle, and Seattle does find themselves as a slim favorite between minus 120 to minus 125, even money to plus 105. That number on Baltimore's 9 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8.5, over is minus 115, under is minus 105. On the 9, under is minus 120, over is even, and I like this total to the under. I did somebody total at an 8.3, as you got a guy in Trevor Rogers that's had some pretty rough luck thus far this season, to say the least. A nice hearty 6.29 ERA, 4.63 fielding independent. Has he been great? No. 1.3 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings with not a ton of strikeouts, but he deserves better than what he's gotten. And Logan Gilbert, overall 3.79 ERA, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but you look at what he's done on the road. How about a 0.94 ERA with 0.3 home runs per 9 innings on the road compared to a 5.60 ERA and 2.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings at home? Like, typically Logan Gilbert is much better when he is at home rather than away from home. We've seen some reverse splits thus far this season, and for the Mariners, they do a great job backing them up with a top 8 bullpen in terms of ERA. Cooper Criswell, just hair above a 3 ERA. Edward Bizardo, Jose Ferrer, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash. These have all been guys that have really gone out there and held down the fort, as Andres Munoz has actually had a few struggles at the closer spot, but all those guys have been able to give you pretty much a sub 250 ERA thus far this season. Now, for the Mariners, they are a team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, and J.P. Crawford, it looks like, is going to be out for a while, but Tom Canzone, moving the line, give you about a 340 on base. Julio Rodriguez, along Luke Raley. These guys have been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. They've been able to hit above a 250. Cole Young, not a ton of power, but he hits about a 250 along Josh Naylor. So, the lineup is starting to look a little bit better. They certainly could use a little bit more of the likes of Patrick Wisdom, and they called up Brian Bliss yesterday as well. I like what I'm seeing of Cole Emerson, too. Flip side for the Orioles, Taylor Ward not providing any power. Last year, 30-plus home runs with the Angels and couldn't get on base. This year, 400 on base and only 3 home runs, so that's been interesting. Gunnar Henderson, 13-plus home runs, but just a 280 on base. Leody Taveras moves line with about a 350 on base, but need a little bit more on some of these young guys like Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Mayo, who've been hitting below a 225. Jackson Holiday has been shaky since coming off the injury list, and for the Orioles, this has been a bullpen that has certainly had their trials and tribulations thus far this season. Yunier Cano posting up a sub 350 ERA along with Uncle Rico Garcia, but Andrew Kitcherson's coming off the injury list has been awful. Keegan Aiken above a 7 ERA. Grant Wolfram has not given you too much, about a 4 ERA. Anthony Nunez has had a tough time as well, so do think that the Mariners go out there, get the job done. South Amanda minus 134, taking the Mariners on the money line, and the under, sub-HL at an 8.3. 965, 966 on the card. It is the Rays, and they're going to be playing us to the Boston Red Sox, as it is Peyton Doyle who's going to be going for the Red Sox, and one Mr. Nick Martinez goes for the Rays, and the Rays are somewhere between minus 104 to minus 115, minus 105 to minus 112 on Boston, so pick 'em game, 7.5 is the total, under is minus 120, and the over is even, and for the Rays, set them at a minus 103 here. Whatever team becomes plus money, that's the team I'm going to be taking on the money line. Right now, this is a relative pick 'em line, so we're going to see what we get with regards to the overnight numbers. I would think that the Red Sox will become a slim underdog. That would put me on them, as I do think that there's going to be some regression here for Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez has gotten away with a lot of contact, and he's a master at being able to get soft contact. Do not get me wrong, but 2.29 ERA while getting 5.3 strikeouts per 9 innings in this day and age is rough. To his credit, 0.8 home runs, 1.7 walks per 9 innings, but I also do believe that Peyton Tolley is the real deal. For Peyton Tolley, he's been able to supply a 2.28 ERA this far this season, does a pretty solid job with his swing and miss stuff, 9.7 strikeouts, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, and with the Trop, it is a good ballpark in terms of suppressing offense for the most part. Now, the Rays have been a little bit better at home rather than away from home with their offense, as Junior Caminero right now is on pace for 35-plus home runs, as he, Yandy Diaz, along with Jonathan Aranda, are all give you at least a 370 on base. With Diaz, he's up to 12 home runs this season. Ryan Velde has been able to give you about a 360 on base. Richie Palacios over a 340 on base. Ben Williamson, a 345 on base. A lot of guys just move the line other than Cedric Mullins, who's been awful. And then for the Red Sox, they have been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation, even though you've got guys who are able to get on base. Masataka Yoshida, Weiler Abreu, Cedon Rafael, all between about a 340 to a 350 on base. Mickey Gasper, in a small sample size, has been solid as well, but Caleb Durbin, Marcelo Meyer in the infield, sub 285 on base with not a lot of power. And I mean, this team is in the bottom 3 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Jaron Duran had 9 home runs in the month of May, but still at 272 on base as far this season. And Wilson Contreras, he's been nice, 390 on base. He's been able to supply 13 home runs. For the Red Sox, their main, shall we say, good attribute in this game is going to be their bullpen. They've been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen area. Recognize that Garrett Woodlock is dealing with a little bit of injury along to Giovanni Morin, but Roldis Chapman is one of the best closers in all baseball. After a shaky start to the season, Greg Weissert is looking quite a bit better. Danny Kalum, he's coming off the injury list, was very shaky to begin the season, but last year was able to supply a sub 350 ERA. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, it's been a little bit up and down with Cole Sulzer. They've been sort of mixing and matching their way throughout the season with regards to some of these starters as well and all the injuries, but Brian Baker, sub 3 ERA. Casey Lugumina in a Rays uniform and a Rays uniform only. Sub 3 ERA. Kevin Kelly's been pretty solid as well. So, interesting spot here. Semi-total 7.4, like the under. Like I said, whoever becomes the underdog is who I'm going to be taking here. I'm thinking that's going to be the Red Sox when it's all said and done. I will let this just sort of marinate and we will see what we get in the AM. But any sort of plus money on the Red Sox, we'll be looking at that money line to go along with this total to the under. 967, 968 on the card. It's the Yankees. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians, as Lades Sony is on the bump for the Guardians and Garrett Cole is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees between minus 130 to minus 134 favorites, plus 110 to a plus 115. That number on Cleveland, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. Seeing a 8 out there as well. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And I said the Yankees at a minus 149. I do like them on the money line. Now, I will say this for Slade Cecconi. After he was just getting absolutely tattooed to begin the season, he's been much better recently. 4.92 ERA doesn't sound great, but he's pitched better than that in my opinion. 4.30 field independent, 1.2 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, and he's given up a combined 9 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts. So he's been able to do a better job there. And for Garrett Cole, he's made 3 starts since coming off the injury list, has a 2 ERA, recognizing in his last start that was the one that was a little bit less than savory. Strikeouts per 9 rate only about a 7, and he is giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, but gets to go up against a Guardians team that's in the bottom 8, both in terms of runs per game and in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis as well. So do have to have a lot of question mark with regards to this offense. You've had some of the ancillary guys really step up. Austin Hedges, who has been a terrible hitter throughout his career, has been hitting much better than Patrick Bailey at the catcher spot. Stephen Kwan continues it at 220. Brian Roque has actually been able to give you a 360 on base. Travis Bazzana, 350 on base. Jose Ramirez, he's up to 9 to 10 home runs, but only about a 345 on base. You expect more there. And Kyle Manzardo is hitting at 230 with not a lot of power. So you've had a lot of issues there. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, obviously, you no longer have Aaron Judge in the fold, and that hurts. Without him, they've been averaging about 4 runs per game, but Paul Goldschmidt, he's looking very good right now. He's giving you about a 355 on base. He's up to 8 home runs this season. Ben Rice, 16 plus home runs. He's been able to give you darn near 400 on base, so he can carry the mail for a little bit of time. Jazz Chisholm has been having a rough season. He's hitting like a 235 with not a ton of power. Ryan McMahon in the catcher spot, that's been a little bit rough for the team as well. It's been mix and match with some of the outfield spots, as Trent Grisham just has not been great, but for the Yankees, this has been a team that has been in the top 10 in terms of their bullpen area. Even though David Bednar and Camilo Doval, your main 2 guys, have not been great. Tim Hill, it's been a little bit up and down recently, but Brent Hedrick, Fernando Cruz, these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Some of the mix and match guys, like whenever they've given Yuri De Los Santos a little bit of a try, he's been solid, and then you've had Paul Blackburn walk the plank to a sub 350 ERA. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this is just not the same bullpen that we've seen in the past, especially with Eric Sabrowski now on the injury list. Hunter Gaddis has looked much better recently. He and Cade Smith got off to shaky starts to the season. Smith has now got over 20 saves, and he's got a ERA below 3, so do like what I'm seeing there. Sean Armstrong, Tim Aaron, these are a pair of guys with a sub 320 ERA as well. Cody Hewer has been able to give you some okay innings as well, but I do think that for Garrett Cole, he's going to be able to go out there, give you a nice start in a little bit more of a pitcher's environment. So somebody told 7.6, like the under for the Yankees, set them at a minus 149. I'm going to be willing to trust them on the money line. 969, 970 on the card. The Twins are going to be on the road against the Tigers. Troy Mellon is on the bump for the Tigre Days. Taj Donkam, Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Twins, and the Twins do find themselves in a spot where they're a slim underdog of between even money to plus 102, minus 120. That number on Detroit with a total of 8.5. Under is minus 110 to a minus 120. Over is between even and minus 110. For the Tigers, I'm willing to lay it. I set them at a minus 126. Now, Troy Mellon is pitching to a lot of contact. This year specifically, 3.9 strikeouts per 9 innings is at a relatively small sample size of 19 career appearances at the big league level over the last 2 years. So if you look at that entire 19, shall we say, appearance sample size, he's been only getting about 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 244 ERA, 1.1 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. And for Taj Bradley, 356 ERA, the 3.8-ish walks per 9 innings have not been great, but 0.9 home runs, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, gets a face-off against the Tigers team that's last in the American League in scoring since May 1st, only putting up about 3.47 runs per game in that time span. So obviously that's been a little bit rough, and I mean, for the Tigers, you have been able to get a little bit more because you had Kerry Carpenter on the injury list for quite a while, along with Gleyber Torres. Getting these guys back, that should be able to help this offense out quite a bit, and I think that Spencer Torkelson is going to round into a little bit of better form. He's been hardly hitting above a 200 with a single-digit amount of homers. That certainly is just not cutting it. You've had guys move the line as well, like Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal. These guys are both giving you over a 390 on base. Torres getting him back is big because he gives you a 385 on base, and that pushes out some of these guys have just been absolutely awful for the team. Guys like Ayo Lee, Jahmai Jones, Wencio Perez, Matt Vierling, all these guys give you a sub 285 on base, no power, hitting a 215 or lower, so that's been rough. Dylan Dingler has been your main boom guy. 14 home runs as far this season, lone guy on the team with a double-figure amount of homers. For the Tigers, they're slightly below average with regards to their bullpen ERA. They've just been especially bad in the 9th inning this far this season. Like, in the 7th and 8th innings, they've been fine. Kyle Finnegan has been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Brian Herter has been dealing with injury, and that's really hurt them because I've liked them along with Birch Smith, but Drew Anderson has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Brendan Hennessy is a presentable pitcher, but these guys like Emmanuel De Jesus and company have been rough. Heck, you've got Kenley Jansen on the injury list as well. Will Vest has not been the answer for them as well, but for the Minnesota Twins, they're a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I mean, for Yandres Gomez, he's actually been pretty solid since he's come on over to Minnesota, but I mean, he failed with 4 different other teams, so I'm wondering how long that's going to be lasting for them. You've got these guys like a Taylor Rogers who's posting up a 4.38 ERA, Cody Funderburk down to about a 3.44 ERA, so that's been a little bit better, but Andrew Morris is providing over a 5 ERA, just have not been able to get a lot out of some of these other mix and match guys like a Justin Topo posted up an 8 ERA this season. And for the Minnesota Twins, it's Byron Buxton trying to carry the mail for the offense. 18 home runs, hitting about a 260, lone guy on the roster with a double-figure amount of bombs. Now Brooks Lee, 9 home runs, but he only gives you about a 290 on base. Josh Bella, 283 on base with 6 home runs. That's just not cutting it. If you have a few guys that move the line, Ryan Jeffers above a 4 on base, Trevor Larnish about a 370 on base. And for the Minnesota Twins, overall, they are in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, but for Minnesota, they do have a little bit of a fall off with that offense away from them. So do think they get a little bit of a lower scoring game here. Sub by 12, 7.7. I like the Tigers up to a minus 125 on the money line, and I do like this total to the under. 971, 972 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be playing against the Walker Texas Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi goes for the Rangers. Stephen Kolek goes for the Royals. 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to even money. Under is between minus 110 to a minus 120. Minus 120 to minus 130 is that number on the Rangers. Even money to plus 110 on the Royals. And I'm going to take a shot on the Rangers up to a minus 123. For Nathan Eovaldi, he had 2 really bad starts to start the season, and ever since then, he's been quite a bit of a better pitcher. Overall for the season for Eovaldi, 4.10 ERA, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but his last 10 starts, 3.14 ERA, and he gets a face-off against the Royals team that's 29th in scoring with 3.9 runs per game. And for the Rangers, this is also a really good bullpen as well. The Rangers continue to be a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. The Jacob Latz, Jacob Junis, these guys have been able to give give you a sub-3 ERA. They've got Cole Winn on the injury list, but I would argue he was a weak link this year. Tyler Alexander at sub-350 ERA. Jalen Beeks has been relatively solid as well, and Royals just have not been able to find it with their bullpen as well. This is a team that's in the bottom 6 themselves in terms of bullpen ERA, with having Carlos Estevez on the injury list. That's been rough, and Lucas Ursich just has not been what the team was hoping for. His ERA has gone well above a 4. You've been able to get good innings out of John Schreiber. He's down below a 3 ERA. Daniel Lynch is a guy that I really like as well, but outside of that, Matt Strahm is above a 4 ERA. Alex Lang, same for him. You've had Eli Morgan not be great in this bullpen as well, and for the Kansas City Royals, you just see more of your main guys in Salvador Perez along with Vinny Pasquantino. Neither of these guys are getting on base. 254 on base for Perez with 9 home runs, 306 on base, 6 home runs for Vinny Pasquantino. Bobby Witt Jr., 23 stolen bags, 350 on base. Nobody's driving them in right now. That's been a big issue. And then got a lot of these other schlubs in the lineup like Lane Thomas, Isaac Collins, along with, even when they've given them at bats, Nick Lofton hitting at 230 or lower with no power whatsoever. Tyler Tolbert does not appear to be the answer for the team. And for the Rangers, this has been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation, but they've been much better away from home. Now you're getting Corey Seager along with Wyatt Langford on the injury list. They had shaky starts this season, so we'll see if they're able to breathe a little bit of life into a team that hasn't had a lot of power. Jake Berger right now leads away with 10 home runs, but only about a 290 on base. But Brandon Nimmo continues to move the line with about a 330 on base. Josh Young is hitting above 300. Ezekiel Duran, 350 on base along Jock Peterson. And then you've been able to have, don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna, give you 375 on base. So do think that the Rangers get the job done. I think that Stephen Kolek, even though he pitches to a lot of contact, he's going to do a nice job in terms of holding down the fort. Right now for Kolek, he's been posting up an ERA of a 332, 1.2 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings allowed. Only gets about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and recognize that they moved the fences in Kauffman Stadium, but do like the under here, so I tell it 80.3. And for the Rangers, we'll delay up to minus 123 on the money line. 973, 974 on the card. The Astros are going to be on the road against the Angels. Well, Barry Yarena is on the bump for the Halos. Kaiwei Tang is on the bump for the Astros, and the Astros who find themselves here as a very slim favorite, as they are between minus 116 to minus 125, plus 105 to minus 102. That number on the Angels, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even to minus 110. I like the under here, so I tell it at 8.4. Recognize that both of these bullpens are just all sorts of atrocious. For the Angels, they threw Alek Manoah out of the bullpen. That's all that needs to be said there. The Angels, 496 with regards to their bullpen ERA, entering in the series 26th in the league. Astros, 27th, 498 ERA. The Astros should be able to improve with this bullpen, though. Getting back Josh Hader is big. Brian King has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Aniel De Los Santos has looked a little bit better. Brian Arroyo, I don't know what's happened to him. He has just completely toilet bowled. And for the Astros, this has been a pretty formidable offense. You do get back Jose Altuve. That helps out. And then your main two boom guys, you've got Yordan Alvarez, 22 home runs, 431 on base. Christian Walker, 250 average, 16 home runs. But around them, you just don't have a lot. The entire outfield with the likes of Jake Myers, Bryce Matthews, Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole. These are all guys hitting at 225 or lower with not a lot of power whatsoever. So it's been an unsuccessful mix and match. Brandon Shoemake, he's now down to a 260 on base as well in the infield. So that's a little bit rough. And for the Angels, this is a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation when they are at home. But at the very least, you still have Mike Trout in the lineup. And Mike Trout has been able to give you an on-base percentage of about a 390 with 14 home runs. Joe Adell, Zach Neto combined 22 home runs out of these two guys. Neither guy hits for above a 245. Adell only about a 283 on base, but you still have Neto give you about a 340 on base. Nolan Schunel has been able to move line, hitting about a 250. Logan O'Hoppe, not so happy about the fact that he's hitting right around about a 192 with not a lot of power. So that's been an issue, but as well, Peraza has been able to move line, and you've been able to get a few okay arms in this bullpen. Sam Bachman now give you a sub 325 ERA. I actually really like what I've seen out of one of the young guys in Chase Silseth. He's been able to give you sub 2 ERA. Then you got the likes of Drew Pomeranz, Jose Fermin, who are posting up an ERA well above a 4. Brent Suter, Ben Ruffram, Tyler Cicero does not appear to be the answer as well. But Welber Yarena, even though he does give up the 5 walks per 9 innings, he has been a real nice bright spot for this team. 268 ERA, 8.6 strikeouts, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And Kaiwei Tang has a nice ERA for the Astros, 306 ERA, but 436 fielding dependent, 4 walks allowed per 9 innings. That does point towards a little bit of regression with 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I think that the starters keep you under, so I tell it at 8.4. And with the Angels, made them the favorite of minus 111, taking them on the money line. 975, 976 on the card. It's the Phillies. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Blue Jays. We do know that one Mr. Zach Whelan and Nealon Wheeler is going to be on the bump for the Phillies. Should be Dylan Cease here. They need to put him off the injury list, but it's looking like it's going to be Cease. Right now for the Phillies, they are minus 112 to minus 115, minus 104 to minus 105 on Toronto. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. I set the Blue Jays here at a minus 108, assuming we do get Dylan Cease. So I'd be willing to take that like minus 105 or so on the money line. Now Now for Dylan Cease, he's going to be a little bit cold because he hasn't pitched in a few weeks, and I don't think they really made like any sort of rehab assignments whatsoever, because the last time he pitched was May 24th, so it's not like this was a super long injured list stint or anything like that. But I think guy's been dealing this year. 13.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does give up some walks with 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but with his 3.05 ERA, 2.59 fielding dependent, and this has been a Philadelphia Phillies offense that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Obviously, Kyle Schwarber has been incredible. He's on pace for 50 plus home runs with a 3.55 on base. Bryce Harper, 14 bombs. He's been able to give you 3.70 on base. And Brandon Marsh, he's hitting a 3.35. He's been solid. I recognize that Adolis Garcia 1 yard yesterday, but he, Armando Sosa, JT Realmuto, Trey Turner down for what? Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott. You just go down the list of guys hitting at 230 or lower without a lot of power. It's just really rampant. And for the Blue Jays, one thing this team does, they don't strike out. They're a top 3 team in terms of few strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. You just need more power out of Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's on pace for fewer than 10 home runs this season, but he, Yohendrick Pinago, Nathan Lukes, Ernie Clement, they're all hitting at 280 or higher. Brandon Valenzuela as the backup catcher filling in for Don't Call His Name Alexander Kirk has had like 3 home runs over the last 5 games. Andres Jimenez is not giving you too much, but I mean, still, you're getting guys on base, and George Springer, I think, is going to be able to find it sooner rather than later. And when it comes to this Blue Jays bullpen, they've really been able to find a nice, trustworthy 3. Tyler Rogers along with Braden Fisher, Louis Varland. These are all 3 guys giving you a sub 260 ERA. Jeff Hoffman is a roll of the dice along Tommy Nance, guys like that. But like what I'm seeing there, and for Zach Wheeler, he began the season on the injury list. He has looked like the Zach Wheeler that we all know and love. Maybe he's not getting as many strikeouts that he has in the past, down to about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That would be his lowest mark since 2017. But 1.1 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, 2.31 ERA. A little bit of a higher 3.52 fielding dependent. That's why I did set the Blue Jays as a little bit more of a favorite, but should be able to fill some nice innings for the Phillies. You've been able to have Yohan Duran be one of the better closers in all of baseball. You've had Ryan Kirkring be able to give you a sub 3 ERA. And you get into the likes of Tanner Banks, Jonathan Bolin, these guys with a 4+ ERA. Jose Alvarado has been awful. That's when it becomes a little bit more dicey, but I think that you get a pair of great starts here. So like the under, so I told 7.2 for the Blue Jays. One delay the money line, set them at a minus 108. 977, 978 on the card. It's the Braves. They're going to be on the road against the White Sox. Eric Fetty-Wap is on the bump for the White Sox. Grant Holmes is on the bump for the Braves, and the Braves are the road favorite between minus 150 to minus 154 plus 130. That's your number on the White Sox. 9 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even, and if you're looking to lay run half with the Atlanta Braves, that's between even money to plus 105, and I'm willing to lay that run half. I'm willing to go up to a minus 108 on that run line. Do recognize that Grant Holmes is probably doing for a little bit of regression with that ERA. He's not necessarily the best swing and miss guy, and he does miss his target quite a bit. 1.7 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings with 8.1 strikeouts per 9, 3.86 ERA, 5.11 fielding dependent. And for the White Sox, you do have a lot of pop with this lineup. You just don't have a lot of guys that just, for lack of a better term, move line. Sam Antonassi has been able to give you over a 3.55 on base. Tristan Peters has been relatively solid as well, but still dealing with the injury to Montaka Murakami, who is supplying 20 home runs this season. Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery combined 31 home runs. Now, Montgomery hitting at 225 with a 322 on base. Vargas only at 242 average, but 370 on base. But then you have Luanel Acuna along with Edgar Quero hitting below the Bedell side of 200. Drew Romo, when they put him at the catcher spot, not much there. Derek Hill, it's been a little bit of a mix and match towards bottom lineup. They've gotten something out of Randall Grichuk, who's been able to hit above a 306 home runs at 54 at bats. We'll see if that continues. They kick the tires on Jared Kelenic. Looks like that's a failed experiment. And for the White Sox, they just have the far inferior bullpen in this spot. Even though you've got a few guys that are pretty solid. When you throw Anthony Dominguez at the closer spot, that's not necessarily great. But like stuff, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, Sean Newcomb, these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. But now you've got Tyler Davis, who is starting to regress, over a 4 ERA. Lucas Sims, Trevor Richards, over a 4.50 ERA. Jordan Leisure has been absolutely terrible for this team. And for the Atlanta Braves, depending upon the day that you look, they're either like number 1 or number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA. Robert Suarez along with Gracie Iglesias, these guys have been lights out in the 8th and 9th inning, sub 250 ERA out of both of them. The Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, both a sub 150 ERA entering into the series. Tyler Kinley has been able to give you sub 325 ERA. And for the Braves, they just continue to be a top 3 offense in terms of run creation. Matt Olson, 17 home runs. He's hitting at 270. Ozzy. Albies hitting at 275 with 10 home runs. Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin, 13 home runs apiece. Baldwin still dealing with a little bit of injury, but Ronald Acuna Jr. up to 5 home runs over the last 2 or so weeks. He's now giving you a 370 on base. Mauricio Dubon continues to move the line. Ori Mateo, when he's been getting at bats, he's moved the line. Tom Smith is hitting at 300. So You just have weapons upon weapons for this team. And for Eric Fedde, man, this guy is just not trustworthy. I recognize that he had really good home and road splits when he was with the White Sox 2 seasons ago, but he's honestly lucky to have a 4.94 ERA, 6.11 fielding independent, 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2 home runs, 3.7 walks for 9 innings. So I think that Eric Fedde gets whopped here. I like the Braves on the run line. I'm willing to lay up to minus 107 there. I like the over. Sub by total 9.2. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. We're out to lovely Las Vegas for the Athletics as they're going to be playing in Las Vegas against the Brewers. Robert Gasser goes for the Brew Crew. JT Ginn and Juice is on the bum for the Athletics. And the Athletics find themselves in a relative pick'em game. For the Brewers, they're anywhere between minus 108 to a minus 120, so they're the slim favorite, even money to minus 108. That number on the Athletics, 11.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Should be a little bit warmer in lovely Las Vegas here on Tuesday than it was on Monday. Monday was actually sub 100 degrees, so it was a nice cool day for my dog, so I always appreciate that. And I do think that there's a little bit of regression doing here for JT Ginn, but I was willing to take any sort of plus money with the Athletics, which we should be able to get that when it's all said and done, when we've got the dime lines. Right now, we've got more of the 10-cent straddle, so when we get those dime lines, I do think that I'm going to be able to take a shot on the Athletics at like a plus 105, something like that. As for Robert Gasser, still do have a few question marks with him as well. He's sort of been up and down all around with regards to this Milwaukee Brewers organization. 4.73 ERA thus far this season. That's why he went 13 in the third innings, 4.7 walks per 9 innings. So you look a little bit more at the minor league numbers at AAA Nashville, 3.38 ERA, and he does a great job keeping the ball in the yard there, and he has been able to get the 12 plus strikeouts per 9 innings, but hasn't necessarily had that translate to the big league level quite yet. And for JT Ginn, right now he's got a 2.74 ERA, which I think is doing for regression. 4.08 fielding independent. He's only getting about 8.2 strikeouts at 3.7 walks per 9 innings. Keeps the ball in the yard though, giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, and faces off against a Milwaukee Brewers team that they're actually last in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, with having Jake Bauers as your main boom guy. 11 home runs thus far this season. Lone guy in the roster with a double-figure amount of homers. Now Bryce Durang, 9 home runs. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of stolen bases, 4 arm base. He's been rock solid. And then Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich when he's been out there, as he's been dealing with a little bit of injury recently. Bowers, who I mentioned before. You've got a lot of guys. You got 275 plus for this team. Andrew Vaughn, when he's been out there, he's been able to hit well above 300 as well. You've been able to get a little bit more of David Hamilton as well. And for the Athletics, it's been a rough season for Brent Rooker. 10 home runs in about 175 at-bats, but are leading above the Mendoza line of 200. Nick Kurtz, one of the best at drawing walks in all baseball, and he's up to 12 home runs this season. Shea continues to bang. Shane layers about a 350 on base, 16 home runs. You're getting back the wrong Max Muncy, which he was off to a nice start to the season, and Henry Bolte, no power, but he's moving the line. He's hitting about a 300 for this team. For the Athletics, it's a league average-ish bullpen. I like some of these guys that they've been able to find, like Luis Medina, Justin Sterner, Jorge Neris, even as Scott Barlow. These have all been guys that have been able to give you a sub 355 ERA. I just don't trust Mark Leiter Jr. and some of these long guys like a Jack Perkins. And then for the Milwaukee Brewers, even though Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill had shaky starts to the season, still a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Grant Anderson deal with a little bit of injury, but should be available in this series. He and Aaron Ashby have been able to give you sub 325 ERA. Chad Patrick lends some good length in the bullpen as they take him from being a starter into the bullpen. Brian Fitzpatrick, sub 3 ERA. So interesting spot here. Any sort of plus money going to be in on the Athletics, and I do think that lovely Las Vegas is really going to elevate this total. Semi-total 11.6. Like the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast. I have that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day. Give you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.